Welcome to another day of NEW260, where we're reading a chapter of the New Testament every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. There are 260 chapters of the New Testament. There's 260 weekdays in the year. And so we are studying to show thyself approved. A chapter a day keeps us in alignment with God's way. And so today we are actually in Matthew chapter 15, and we are going to be covering truth over tradition. We're also going to be covering the daughter with the devil, and we're also going to be covering another multiplication of loaves and fish. And so I'm excited about this chapter. So let's get right into it. Okay. So, chapter 15, verse 1. Then came to Jesus scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, Why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread. Okay. And so you're going to see this battle between truth and tradition all throughout Yeshua's teachings. But he answered and said unto them, Why do ye also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition? Okay, not God's tradition, but by your traditions. Verse 4. For God commanded, saying, Honor thy father and mother, and he that curseth father or mother, let him die the death. Right? That's one of the 10 commandments. Verse 5. But ye say, Whosoever shall say to his father or his mother, It is a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free. Thus have ye made the commandment of God of none effect by your tradition. So that language pattern in verse 5 is kind of confusing, right? So if we go to the NIV, it gives a lot more clarity. It says, if anyone declares that what might have been used to help their father or mother is devoted to God. So you have something that could have helped, you have money that could have helped your mother or father to stay in alignment with the law, right? Which was honor thy mother and father. But you say, no, I can't do that for you, mom and dad. This is devoted to God, right? They aren't, it goes on to say, they aren't to honor their father or mother with it. Thus nullify the word of God for the sake of your tradition. So they are putting this unseen God above their mother and father. And Yeshua did say that I will turn father against sons, mother against daughter, mother-in-law against daughter-in-law. So Yeshua did say that in earlier chapters. But he's saying that if you have resources, and this is for those churches out there that depend on tithing and or will guilt trip you into giving, Yeshua is saying, no. If your mother and father are struggling right now and you have resources, go serve them. Go help them. And in helping them, you are actually serving God. Now, we don't want to create an enabling relationship where there becomes a codependency and you're always the gap filler. But if there is a moment of need that your mother or father have, or we could expand this to other people around you, friends, family, etc., then you are to give to God through them. That is more honoring God than giving to the institution, giving to the religion, thinking that you are giving to God through that avenue. When there are people right next to you that you know and have been in your life for a long time that you love and love you, who you could be helping in this moment with the resource. Is this making sense? See, they won't preach this in a church. They will not preach this in a church. Verse 7, ye hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you, saying, This people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth. They talk a good game, they pay lip service and honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Remember, Yeshua is a what? What kind of surgeon? A heart surgeon. So Yeshua is looking at the heart posture. And the heart posture of the Sadducees and Pharisees is so far from God. It is positioned way across. They know all the words, right, of the Old Testament. They know all the laws, but their heart are not living in accordance with the laws. And so we're going to get to this, but I'll give you a little appetizer right now. When we get to the Last Supper, when Yeshua says, I'm going to take this bread, which is my teachings, right? And I want you to dip it into the wine, which is the blood or the spirit of love. So without both, if you just go with the teachings, and this is what John was doing, we talked about this in the reading of chapter 14. John was just about the teachings, almost just about the teachings in the same way that the Sadducees and the Pharisees were. But he was condemning them for not being in alignment with the law, but it was all law based. And Yeshua was saying, I need you now to dip the teachings into the spirit. Wine is called spirits of love. And if you look at the laws from the lens of love, then guess what? You're going to live them out. You'll fulfill every single law when you look at it through the lens of love. Okay? So that's just a little appetizer. We'll get to the Last Supper soon. All right? So he's saying that this people draw nigh to me with their mouths, they honor me with their lips, they pay lip service, but their hearts are far from me. Right? We will be judged by the heart. Now, in Egypt or in the spiritual system of Ma'at, what they did, and we know that a lot of Christianity was remixed from that particular belief system. The Ten Commandments, because Moses, right, grew up in Egypt, so and you had to know the 42 declarations of innocence, right, and so we can see that the Ten Commandments directly comes from the 42 direct declarations of innocence. And I say that to say, whether you honor this system or not, they have a principle. Okay, they have a principle that upon your transition, your heart is weighed against a feather, and if your heart is light enough, then you go on to the next realm, and if it's not, you go back. Okay, so what makes your heart heavy? Unforgiveness, hate, judgment, fear. All of these things, all of these substances make your heart heavy and make them heavier than a feather. What makes your heart light? Love, happiness, joy, forgiveness, compassion, understanding. These things make your heart light. Right? So you see this over and over and over again. Yeshua is pointing at the heart. Yeshua is pointing within. There, wherever your treasures are, there your heart will be also. Right? It's all about the heart, family. Okay. So verse 9, but in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. Okay, not the commandments of God, but the commandments of men. All right. And verse 10, and he called the multitude and said unto them, hear and understand, not that which goeth into the mouth defileth a man, but that which cometh out of the mouth, this defileth a man. Okay. So he's saying, okay, my disciples are eating with dirty hands. That is not what defileth a man. It is what is coming out from his heart, because what is in his heart dictates what he truly values. And so I can understand who you are based on how you speak. So when you are dating or getting to know somebody on a professional level and things of that nature, be quiet and listen to how they speak. And if you look at the nuances of their words and what they speak about and how they speak and the tonality, you can actually truly understand what they value, because the words come from within the heart. And that is what Yeshua says defileth a man. Verse 12. And then his disciples and said unto him, knowest thou that the Pharisees were offended after they heard this saying? Verse 13, but he answered and said, every plant which my heavenly Father hath not planted shall be uprooted. Now, I believe that God is so powerful that even if this was written in Hebrew, God knew that it would be translated to English. Because when you look at this is like a triple entendre. So it's used as a plant, right? And we think about it as a plant. Any plant that my father, the gardener, did not plant, right, is going to be uprooted. Now, what kind of things get uprooted? Weeds. They look like plants at first, but they weren't planted by God, right? And then we also know that plant means a spy or an informer, right? So it looks like, it talks like, it acts like, but it does not have the heart. It does not have the heart, okay? And it produces no good. And so I just love language, and I love how God operates, okay? Verse 14, let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch. So Yeshua is not just admonishing the blind leaders. He's also admonishing blind followers who aren't seeking the truth. They're just going along with the motions. And then Peter, and then answered Peter and said unto him, declare unto us this parable. And Jesus said, are ye also yet without understanding? So Yeshua, as we get into the ministry, he starts to get frustrated with them because they with him every day. Like, you should be knocking this out. This is kind of like it's kind of like a Jay-Z and Memphis Bleak. Like, yo, you with me every single day. You should have a hit by now. And Memphis Bleak, he got his one hit, right? One or two hits. But Memphis Bleak, you probably should have had some dope albums if you are shadowing Jay-Z, right? If you were shadowing Jehovah, which he calls himself, right? You should have some hits. And I think even we as fans expected that, right? And so Yeshua was getting kind of frustrated with them. Okay. And I just want you to notice that there are people who have been going to church for decades and still don't understand, haven't even asked questions, really, just been following along blindly, blind leaders. All right. The blind leading the blind. Verse 17, do not ye yet understand that whatsoever entereth in at the mouth goeth into the belly and is cast out into the drought. He's saying it's going to go into your belly, goes in the mouth, even if it was dirty, it's going to go into your mouth, sit in your body for 8 hours, and it's going to come out your behind. It's going to come out your behind. That's not what defiles you. Okay. Now, this is not saying go eat French fries and fried chicken and all kinds of bad food because it's going to come out. No, it sits. Those things end up sitting in your body, elements of them, the fat, right? The oils, etc. Right. That's not what he's saying. It's not a pass to go eat unhealthy. Right. This is a spiritual lesson. Verse 18, but those things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile a man. Okay. You will be held accountable according to your word. So we never want to use words loosely. And your words communicate what you truly value. They communicate what you truly treasure in your heart. Okay. So Jesus, or Yeshua, is always turning our attention inward, not on outward rituals, rules, dogma, and doctrines. Always going inward. Verse 19, for out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, and blasphemies. So remember, Yeshua said that if you've lusted, then you've already committed adultery. So Yeshua is saying, I'm no longer focused on behavior modification and trying to force people to stop doing things. Thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. No, we must go through the baptism of fire, which is the purification of the heart, right? The burning away of that which is necessary and the purification of that which is in, so that only the true substance remains, right? And once the heart is purified, then the actions naturally are going to be good. All right. That is what Yeshua's ministry is really about. So we have to cut it off at the root, which is the heart, or the subconscious mind, which we also know as the heart mind. All right. Verse 20. These are the things which defile a man, but to eat with unwashen hands defileth not a man. Verse 21. Then Jesus went thence and departed into the coast of Tyre. Tyre means rock, and Sidon, which means fishery or hunting place. And verse 22. Now we get into the daughter with the devil. And behold, a woman of Canaan, right? In Canaan, she's actually Greek in Mark 7. So there's an inconsistency there. Came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with the devil, with a devil. Okay, not the devil, a devil. Verse 23, but he answered her not a word. That seems rude, right? And his disciples came and besought him, saying, send her away, for she crieth after us. Verse 24, but he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So Yeshua actually had a target market, and it was the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And not everybody in the world fit that description. So this is where you get into Gentiles and what this teaching actually means for Gentiles who are not of Israel. Now the question is, who are the true Israelites? Done a video on that. It has been removed. I'll leave it at that. It has been removed. Who are the true Israelites? I know who they are. I don't think the world knows who they are. or we are. That's a better way to put it. We're going to realize it one day. Okay. So verse 25, then came she and worshiped him, saying, Lord, help me. Verse 26, but he answered and said, it is not meet to take the children's bread and to cast it to dogs. Yeshua called her a dog? That's messed up. Going back to Matthew 7:6, which we read earlier, do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, they might trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. So this language or way of speaking of other people seemed to be common then, even so much so that Yeshua would call her a dog, right? Or reference her as a dog. And oftentimes in the religious world, they'll call anything that is not alignment with their belief system pagan, and that's really all pagan means. All pagan means is that it don't align with what we talking about over here. That's all pagan really means. And so people create these words, religions create these words to distance them and themselves from other people and make them appear more righteous and make them appear more evil. Okay. Verse 27, and she said, truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Then Jesus answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith, but be it unto thee even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from that very hour. Okay. Now, this is very interesting because when we look back at the centurion, the Canaanite woman, who is actually Greek in Mark 7, and then the centurion, when they were making requests of Yeshua, who were they making requests for? They were making requests for other people. Now, most people, they go and they see Yeshua and they're making a request for them. How can he help me? How can I be blessed? But the reason I think Yeshua healed in those two circumstances and showed their great faith is that they were actually asking not for themselves. They might have had issues in their own lives personally, but instead they saw an opportunity to be a blessing to somebody else. In this case, her daughter, and in the centurion's case, his servant. And I believe that that is why Yeshua healed in these two circumstances. Okay? Both felt unworthy. The centurion felt unworthy, and so did this woman, actually receiving the title or label of dog. Okay? But guess what? They felt the person that they were asking for was worthy. The centurion felt that his servant was worthy, and the woman felt that her daughter was worthy. That is love. They were asking in the name of love. They were asking in the name of unselfishness. Whereas most people, especially how most people are taught to pray, they are praying for just themselves. Do you know that it is just as easy for you to pray for wealth and for abundance and for health and for love for everyone as it is to pray for yourself? Instead of saying, dear God, please bless me with more resources and money so I can do more good, you realize that you can say, dear God, please let your abundance flow through the entire world so that everybody has more than enough. Same exact prayer, because guess what? You're included in everybody. We are all part of the body. So why not pray? If I'm going to use my words, why not pray for the entire body? Going back up to the Pharisees and the Sadducees, right? Your words reveal who you are. They actually reveal your selfish desires. So it's just as easy to pray. You think that you need to pray specifically to God. The most powerful prayer is thy will be done. 4 words, thy will be done. Because most of the times we actually don't know what's best for us. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in. So thy will be done is actually the best prayer. But guess what? God already knows your needs. Scripture says that God already knows your needs. So you don't have to get into all these specific details and things of that nature. You can tap God on the shoulder a little bit and say, God, don't just bless me, bless everyone. I pray for the health of everybody in this hospital, not just me. Right? I pray for the well-being of everybody in this country or everybody in this world, not just me. The same energy to pray for yourself could be praying for everyone. And I guarantee that that prayer is going to get answered first because it is an unselfish prayer. Okay. So verse 29, and Jesus departed from thence and came nigh unto the Sea of Galilee and went up into the mountain and sat down there. Again, going up to the mountain, solitude, higher level of consciousness. Verse 30, and the great multitudes came unto him, having with them those that were lame, blind, dumb, maimed, and many others, and cast them down at Jesus' feet, and he healed them. Verse 31, insomuch that the multitude wondered when they saw the dumb to speak, and maimed to behold, and lame to walk, and blind to see, and they glorified the God of Israel. Right? Interesting that they said the God of Israel and not just God. Verse 32. But then earlier, Yeshua, so Matthew is trying to make a point, because in verse 24, he says, I'm sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So Matthew is kind of saying, this is our God, right? And this is why the disciples, when other people are approaching Jesus that are not of the Jewish faith and upbringing, they're like, no, send them away. You're for us. You're ours. You're our king, right? And Yeshua's love is too expansive to be limited to a specific group of people, just like I taught you in terms of prayer. The power of your tongue is more powerful than just using it for your own good. Okay? The centurion and the woman whose daughter had a devil, they didn't use their tongue for their own good. They used their tongue to serve and bless others. Okay? So, verse 32, this word keeps coming back up. Then Jesus called his disciples unto him and said, I have compassion on the multitude. That word, compassion, keeps coming up. This is the heart posture of Yeshua. Compassion, love, forgiveness. So if we want to be Christ-like, these are the things that we have to aspire to hold in our hearts, because they continue with me now 3 days, right? We know this number 3. Jonah in the belly of the whale for 3 days, Yeshua in the tomb for 3 days. They've been with me 3 days and have nothing to eat, and I will not send them away fasting, lest they faint in the way. Now, in the way, I want to give you a little history lesson. The way is mentioned several times in the book of Acts in connection with the early followers of Christ. It was to take the prisoner. It was to take prisoner men and women who belonged to the way, that Saul of Tarsus went to Damascus. After Saul was converted, he became a missionary and went by the name of Paul. In Ephesus, Paul met some in the synagogue, some in the synagogue who became obstinate, and they refused to believe and publicly malign the way. Okay, so the way was actually the original name of Christianity. Okay, that was the original language for Christianity. And so when you see Yeshua, lest they faint in the way, lest they faint in these teachings. Okay, I am the way, the truth, and light. I am being this lifestyle. Okay, I'm not just teaching it, I'm being it and teaching it. I'm demonstrating it, right? I studied it for from 12 to 30. Now I am demonstrating it because I was already being it. Now I'm demonstrating it and teaching it to others. I'm teaching them the way. So the way is actually a more accurate language pattern to describe Yeshua's belief system. Okay, the way to the kingdom, and the kingdom not necessarily being a place that we're going to, but how we actually bring the kingdom of heaven on earth. Verse 33, and his disciples say unto him, whence should we have so much bread in the wilderness as to fill so great a multitude? So they just fed 5,000 off of five loaves and 2 fish a chapter or two ago. Now, we don't know how many days or weeks or months that was ago, but how quickly we forget when God fulfills our needs in the past, then we have a similar need come up and we think that it's going to go a different direction, right? We forget. Even when we have evidence with our eyes, evidence in our own lives, not just even evidence of other people succeeding when they started this business, or succeeding when they were looking for a husband or a wife, succeeding at this or that. We see other people doing it. And even when it happens and has happened in our own life where God has met our need at the right time, we still forget. So they have forgotten that we just fed 5,000 not too long ago, right? So, and Jesus said unto them, how many loaves have ye? And they said, 7, and a few little fishes. Verse 35, and he commanded the multitude to sit down on the ground, and he took the 7 loaves and the fishes, and gave thanks, and brake them, and gave to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And they did all eat and were fulfilled, and they took up of the broken meat that was left 7 baskets full. And they that did eat were 4,000 men, besides women and children. And he sent away the multitude, and took ship, and came to the coast of Magdala. Okay. So the same 10-step process that I walked you through before during the feeding of the 5,000s, that occurred here. A different amount of fish and loaves and a different amount of baskets left over. The same amount was left over as was given. When you think about light, okay, a candle. If I have a candle, this is why spiritual knowledge is so powerful. If I have a candle, right, I can actually light 1,000 other candles without losing my light. We know that Yeshua is the light of the world, right? I can light 1,000 other candles without losing my light. That is representative of spiritual truth and knowledge. Okay. We also know that bread has many meanings throughout the Bible. It's spiritual nourishment, it's physical nourishment, it's represented as spiritual nourishment, right? It's represented as truth or teaching, right? Manna in the desert with the Israelites. Give us this day our daily bread. Yeshua saying, my food is to do the will of the one who sent me. So take this bread as my body, right? Meaning that I want you to embody me. Because if we don't see it as the metaphorical understanding, knowing that Yeshua had bars, right? He's saying, I want you to embody me. Because if we don't look at it like that, then we have to look at it as cannibalism. Eat my flesh and drink my blood. That's cannibalism. We know that's not what Yeshua meant. It means to embody these teachings and dip it, right, in the spirit or the wine of love. Embody these teachings and do it in the spirit of love. That's what the Last Supper and communion is really about. Okay? And so that concludes Matthew chapter 15. That was good. That was good. That was good. Go ahead and chat and put your greatest takeaway from today's teaching, and we will continue our journey with Matthew 16 at 8 a.m. All right? Much love, y'all. Peace.